Hello, and welcome to the Golden Graft. I am Detective Follicle, and I am here to solve hair loss and hair transplant mysteries and help you save your precious hair. Case 1. Why do men go bald? This is Daniel. Daniel seems to have it all. A lovely family, a successful business, and great friends. But there's one thing that Daniel is losing every passing day. Guess what? Yes, it is his hair. Come on, Daniel. Couldn't you see that coming with all the bald males in your family tree? Anyways, time is not in Daniel's favor. He needs to make a decision to either embrace his baldness or fight it as much as he can. So first, let's help him understand what's going on. Balding in males has a characteristic pattern where in the beginning, in most men, they start off with a full head of hair. Then, the first sign of balding appears at the temples with a recession of the hairline that is slow but steady, until at some point, the hair of the crown area starts to thin slowly as well. The bald patches from the temple and crown meet in the middle, leading to baldness at the top of the scalp. There is one variation of this pattern where the hair retreats backwards from the forehead all the way towards the crown. This type of hair loss is what they call androgenetic alopecia, and it is the most common form of hair loss in men. Alopecia? That is the medical name for hair loss, and androgenetic refers to male hormones like testosterone. Of course, there are other forms of hair loss that have very different causes and patterns. For instance, iron deficiency can cause general hair thinning all over the scalp. Another type of hair loss only affects one specific part of the scalp. A dermatologist or trichologist can work out the right diagnosis by looking carefully at the pattern of hair loss so it can be stopped as soon as possible. Alright, so let's talk about what causes this type of hair loss. Male pattern balding is basically a genetic condition. One study compared identical and non-identical twins and found that 81% of male pattern hair loss is due to genetics. Hair loss can be caused by multiple genes on both the mother and father's side. So what does this hair loss actually look like at a microscopic level? Hair growth goes through different phases. The first phase is called the growth phase, where hair follicles create hard protein chains called keratin. This phase normally lasts between 2 to 6 years and produces thick hair once the hair has matured. It goes through a short transition to the resting phase, where the hair just stays there for around 3 months or so. At the end of the resting phase, the hair falls out, and the growth cycle is started again. For men who have a genetic susceptibility to male pattern hair loss, the hair follicles are overly sensitive to a stronger relative of testosterone known as DHT. So in balding males, when testosterone is converted to DHT by a special enzyme, DHT shortens the growth phase of certain hair follicles, and because of this, hairs have less time to grow, so they become shorter and thinner. This sensitivity to DHT seems to affect some parts of the scalp more than others, resulting in that classic hair loss pattern. So the hair follicles of balding men are mostly more sensitive to DHT than those of non-balding men. Also, sometimes they tend to convert more of their testosterone to DHT. We also need to mention that performance-enhancing drugs like anabolic steroids increase the risk of hair loss. This is because they artificially increase the male hormones in the body, which means more DHT that can accelerate hair loss in genetically susceptible individuals. Male pattern baldness is very common. About 1 in 2 adult men in their 40s have obvious signs of balding, and most men will have some level of baldness during their lifetime. Some men can start losing hair in their early 20s, while others can have healthy hair well into their 60s. Interestingly, male pattern baldness only becomes noticeable once half of hair follicles have already been affected. So if you think that you're starting to go bald, you may already be halfway there. Hair loss can have massive psychological consequences, from feelings of unattractiveness to depression and severe anxiety. But fortunately, it is not that dark. There are treatments that can help a lot, and the earlier you start the treatment, the more likely you are to keep your precious hair hair. Also, hair transplant operations can lead to impressive outcomes, only if done right and at the right time. This was the end of Hair Mystery Case number 1, but not the end of our series. In case number 2, we investigate the Norwood scale and how fast the hair loss can progress along the scale. Subscribe if you don't want to miss out on our weekly hair mysteries, hair loss solutions, hair transplant education, and more. Until then, wishing you a head full of hair.